You're listening to Teracota Chronicles, where broken pieces find their way back to wholeness. And if you stay with me, you'll hear how I was broken, how I survived it all, and how I rebuilt my life beyond everything I was told I couldn't have. This isn't a sermon, it's a story, a living journal of how I got here. And maybe somewhere in it, you'll find your way back to yourself too. This morning, I woke from a dream, and in the dream, everyone had a role, not who they were, but what they did. And the strange part was, it felt normal. Like no one questioned what was going on. And it was some really weird things that was happening, but no one questioned it. Like everyone just accepted this is the way we function. And when I woke up, I realized that this wasn't just a dream. This was a perfect reflection of what came next. Because after I made the decision and I chose the crossroad, my first one, my life didn't just change. I stepped into a completely different version of it. Recap. I found church, or maybe church found me, because I met these girls. They were different. They had structure, they had discipline, they had something I felt like I needed. And I admired that. So naturally, I followed, and we became close school friends. We met in choir class. So, of course, we sang together, not just in class, but outside of it too. We had started spending time together, and eventually we became a trio. Not necessarily inseparable, but we had a plan. We were Christian girls, and I took it seriously. Not just the friendship, but the identity. Because by now, I wasn't just learning anymore, I was becoming. And as strange as this may sound, we didn't even attend the same churches. Even though they were the inspiration behind my decision to rededicate my life back to God, I chose to go to the church my mother and brother were attending. And for me, this was a big deal because what I thought I was stepping into was an opportunity to bond with my mother in a way that I hadn't before, through something meaningful, something that we were sharing. But that didn't last long because after about 2 months, she stopped going, and I realized her reasons for being there were not the same as mine. She was actually going with a friend, just trying out church. And the connection I thought that I was going to build with her, that wasn't really there. It wasn't available. Not in the way that I'd hoped. But I stayed. And I didn't just stay. I made that my lifestyle. Now, a little bit of backstory. Before all of these changes in my life, I had been in teen pageants. Yes, teen pageants. And I'd made it to the final round and won Miss Congeniality. Now, to be clear, the final round, there were 3 finals. So let's just say I made it to the first final round. And those old connections got us on stage, a real one. Over 500 people in this historic music hall, and there we were in what felt like our Sunday's best, black skirts, white blouses, singing a cappella, and if that wasn't big time, here's what made it something else entirely. We took songs we loved, the secular ones, songs we already knew from the radio, and we changed the words to make them about God. Because we had been taught that what we naturally enjoyed wasn't acceptable because it could pull us away from God. And we believed that. We believed anything outside of that space, church, could pull us away from God. And that belief changed everything. And it didn't stop with music. It showed up in other ways. Who I spent time with, what I listened to, what I watched, how I spoke. Because depending on who I was around, I had decided which version of me was acceptable. There was the me with my family, the me with my stepdad's family, the me with my cousins, which were more like siblings, the church me, school me with friends, teachers, and yes, the boys. And underneath all of that was the real me, the one hiding, the one ashamed, the one from the hood, street smart, shaped by dysfunction, but authentic, real. And that version of me, I was taught I had to kill. That part of me had to die to become who Christ wanted me to be. And sidebar, I'm only using that language now so you can hear the way that it sounded. Because as a grown woman, I now know Christ didn't want me to erase anything. If anything, he would have wanted me real, me. But I didn't have the language for that yet. So instead, I kept going. I kept participating. I kept becoming what I thought I was supposed to be. But the cracks, they were there. They were small at first. They were easy to ignore, easy to explain away, until one moment made me feel it in a way I couldn't unfeel. I remember being at church during a choir rehearsal with the youth group, and two girls started fighting right there in the church. And I was devastated. Not because people fight, but because of where we were. Because in my mind, this was supposed to be different. This was supposed to be safe. This was supposed to be better. And in that moment, something in me said, wait, this looks familiar. This is not holy. It's not separate. It's not untouched. Just human. Just like everything else I came from. And that scared me. Because if this place wasn't different, then where was I supposed to go to become different? But I didn't say it out loud. I didn't question, and I didn't leave. I just kept going, and I kept looking for what was different. Because if it wasn't showing up there, then maybe it showed up somewhere deeper. And that's when I was introduced to the idea of the sanctity of a Christian marriage. And in my mind, that had to be it. That had to be where it lived. The difference, the purity I was looking for, the set apart life that I was trying to become. And I was taught that if it didn't show up fully in church, it would show up in marriage, a Christian marriage, for sure. That was presented as sacred, untouchable, covered, a union led by God, where the man loved like Christ and the woman honored that, where there was structure, order, protection, and if you did it right, if you stayed pure, if you chose the right person and was equally yoked, you would finally experience the life that looked different. Peace, security, certainty, and I believed that. Not because I had seen it. I hadn't seen it. but because I needed it to be true, because I was still looking for something that felt untouched by everything I came from, something that didn't carry the same dysfunction, the same instability, the same unpredictability, the same shame. So, in my mind, marriage wasn't just about love, it was escape. It was proof that transformation was real. And I didn't realize it then, but the version of me I was becoming, the one that knew how to shift, to read the room, and become what was needed, was the same version of me that would show up later in my marriage, still trying to be chosen instead of simply being seen. You've been listening to Teracota Chronicles, and if something in my story resonated with you, if it mirrored your life, your questions, or your own awakening, I hope it reminds you you are not alone. I'm not here to perform or present a polished version of myself. What I'm offering is honesty. And if you choose to stay with me, this story is still unfolding. I'll return with the next part. Be open, be well, and be at peace until we meet again.